The Ball State Cardinals travel to Jordan Hare Stadium Saturday night looking to pull off a big-time upset. Will Hugh Freeze have his Auburn Tigers ready to go? Let's discuss on this edition of the Uptempo Podcast. Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Uptempo Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dustin Smith. Preview edition today, week number 2, game number 2. The Ball State Cardinals traveling to Jordan Hare Stadium Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. The game will be televised on ESPNU. They're taking on our Auburn Tigers, baby. Our 1-0 Auburn Tigers coming off that big victory over the Baylor Bears last Friday night. Before we get into previewing this matchup, man, please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Sub to the channel if you have not done that yet. If you are listening on audio, Spotify, Apple, any of those platforms, leave a 5-star review. Go ahead and turn on your instant notifications and your automatic downloads. The numbers over there are growing. The numbers on the YouTube side are growing. I want to say a big thank you to you guys. Those small things help the show out a ton. And it's just been a good month over here for growth of the Uptempo Podcast. And it's you guys. It's all thanks to you. So yeah, can't thank you guys enough, man. Ball State coming to Auburn Saturday night. Feels good to kind of be able to take a breath, right? Now, we hope the boys don't take a breath. But as fans, you feel like you got that Baylor win in your back pocket. And now you should have a couple of weeks here with Ball State and South Alabama where should be a little bit more relaxing. The Auburn Tigers should be able to come out there, handle their business. I believe the spread is 49. We'll see if Auburn covers. You never know with late touchdowns when you have walk-ons and third strings in the game. But look, no disrespect to Ball State. It is what it is. Watched a lot of that Purdue game. They might have one of the worst offenses in Division I football. They have a converted wide receiver, running back type that they're trying to convert to quarterback. He's an athlete, but it's just kind of a mess over there. And a lot of those group of 4 teams or group of 5 teams, where you have this tons of transfer portal turnover and all this kind of stuff. They really look like a team right now, a program trying to find its identity, getting shut out 31-0 against the Purdue Boilermakers to open up the season. And look, their secondary struggled early. There was a receiver for Purdue that had over 100 yards within the first quarter alone. Very poor tackling in the secondary for that Ball State team. And it's very clear when you watch them on offense that they want to run the football. They ran the football almost 20 times, I believe, more than they threw the football versus Purdue. They want to run. And if you get down early, well, then obviously we know what happens. You get down early and you still want to be a team that's trying to establish the run. It's going to be difficult to come back. And I don't think they have a quarterback right now. They don't have a passing game right now that will allow them to get into the game. So it would be a monumental upset for Ball State to be able to pull this off. It would really be about Auburn kind of playing with their food and not handling business if that was to happen. Look, don't expect that to happen. This is going to be a long year for Ball State, I think, and Auburn's roster is there's just a massive gap here. So, but what I do want to see from Auburn is I want to see Auburn come out and put their foot on the gas early. I know that you had all summer to look forward to a big week 1 game versus Baylor, and you go and you get that dub. So now everyone around town, all of us in the Auburn media space have heaped a whole bunch of praise this week on Auburn, and rightfully so. They've earned it. But look, if you're Auburn, you still didn't even get ranked. It's also going to be your first home game of the season. Hugh Freeze talked about how that defense did not have the energy that he felt like it should have had versus Baylor. Well, there should be no excuses. He talked about how they made that 4th down stop versus Baylor that sealed the deal, and he said it felt like more of a sigh of relief from the defense versus joy and excitement from getting the stop. So we need to see that reversed this week. You're going to be playing in front of this Jordan Hare crowd for the first time this season. And although it's Ball State, I think at least, if you get up by 50, the juice comes out of the stadium a little bit. But early on, man, this crowd's going to be gassed up and ready to go. You're coming off one of the bigger wins that you've had as a program in a long time. And now you're coming home and it's a night game and everyone's been waiting, 6, 7, 8 months, however long it's been since the last home game to see their team. Like, to start the game off It's going to be loud in there. It's going to be big time atmosphere. So there's no reason why this team should not have the juice, should not have the energy. You haven't proven anything. Good win versus Baylor, but you haven't proven anything, and there's still tons of things that this Auburn football team needs to clean up and get better at. So let's start there. Start on the offensive side of the ball. I want to see a nice, clean, efficient passing game. Now, I don't want Auburn to force anything because that's how you develop bad habits. So if Ball State does the exact same thing that Baylor did and just plays a defense to where they say, you're not going to beat us over the top no matter what, well, cool. I don't expect Damari Alston to go in this game with a shoulder injury, probably going to sit him out. But there's a good opportunity to get Darrell Robinson going. Jeremiah Cobb's a beast. Jackson can obviously make things happen with his legs. And that would be a good opportunity to see the fall camp phenom, freshman phenom, early enrollee phenom, Omar Mabson. We've heard so much about him. This is the kind of game where you want to see him, right? Especially if Damari's not able to go. So if Ball State comes out early and is playing a similar defense as to what Baylor did, I don't want Auburn to come out and force the pass. But make no mistake about it, Auburn should be able to do whatever they want to do. If Auburn wants to throw the ball around on Ball State, there's nobody on Ball State that's going to stop Kim Coleman. There's nobody that's going to stop Eric Singleton. And if they do just sell out and make that a thing and you run it down their throat, they're going to have to switch up eventually. And you should just kind of be able to do what you want to do. So as long as Auburn comes out with the right mentality and it's not like playing with your food, you're not drunk off of the Baylor win and just trying to go through the motions these next 2 weeks. If Auburn comes out and views Ball State as the nameless, faceless opponent and you're just the next one in our way, then you should be able to do whatever you want. And that being the case, I want to see Jackson Arnold be 20 of 25, 18 of 22, 23, something like that with 250 to 280 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns with no turnovers in the first half. And I don't even want to see him in the second half, right? Nice, clean, efficient passing game. You didn't have to use Eric Singleton last week. You didn't have to use Malcolm Simmons last week. You didn't have to use Cam Coleman or Perry Thompson. But this week, you have the perfect opportunity to get those guys involved. And, for one, it's yes, you want to get them involved because they need touches. They want to catch the football. But also, that you're not going to be able to do what you did versus Baylor every single week in SEC play, at least not to that level. There will be a time where you have to throw the ball to win, probably coming up a couple weeks in Norman, Oklahoma. So what a perfect opportunity you have Saturday night versus a secondary that really struggled against a Purdue team to make some big plays and to get this passing offense on rhythm. That's what I'm looking for the next 2 weeks. Let's get this passing offense in rhythm. Not that it was even out of rhythm against Baylor. It just didn't have to be. Rhythm wasn't necessary, right? You didn't have. You just kept beating the same drum off to the side. You just kept pounding the rock up the middle, and Baylor was able to do nothing about it. But these next 2 opponents, particularly Ball State here, this gives you an opportunity to make some big plays in the secondary. Hugh talked a lot about Jackson Arnold's confidence. This should be a confidence-boosting game. So I want to see a nice, clean, efficient passing game. And, in terms of running back, Jeremiah have maybe 8 to 10 carries, have a couple of big plays, and get him out. This should be a game where you're allowing Darrell Robinson. Maybe we get to see some Alvin Henderson, and I want to see some Omar Mabson, right? Somebody that, again, we heard a lot about how good he was in fall camp. So here's your opportunity. We know what Jackson can do with his legs. I don't want to see too many quarterback runs. Maybe a couple because you want to build off of the foundation you set versus Baylor. And if that's going to be a big part of your offense moving forward, then you want to keep building on it and keep growing in that aspect, right? But Jackson doesn't need to take a whole lot of punishment this week. He doesn't need to have a whole lot of carries and put himself in any kind of danger. It's just not needed, right? And again, Ball State is the kind of team that they want to run the football. They're looking to try to win games in the MAC, okay? They're not really they would love to beat Auburn, but that's not really realistic for them. They're looking to win games in the MAC. They're trying to get their habits, trying to get their play style established. And to do that, they're going to want to run the football. They're going to want to run the ball in the MAC. And so they're not going to come into Auburn and trying to throw the ball all over the place. They don't have the personnel to do it. So if you're Auburn, you hit a couple of big explosive plays early and you put Ball State in a position where they're down big and it's not really a threat. So don't play with your food, man. Come out, hit big plays. If Cam Coleman beats a guy deep, hit him. Don't Bailey over, like no missed opportunities. I want to see a nice, clean, efficient offense, man. Continue to build off of what the solid foundation that you laid week 1 versus Baylor. On the defensive side, now there's a lot to clean up on the defensive side. There's a lot to clean up over there on the defensive side. Tackling, obviously, number 1. Miscommunication and blown coverage is number 2. I don't know how much the blown coverage and all that's even going to come into play, because I don't think that Ball State is the kind of opponent that's really going to stress you out. They're not really going to stress the secondary out too much. I don't think, again, watching their game versus Purdue, watching kind of what their game plan is versus offense and what they have at the quarterback position. It's not Sawyer Robinson. They don't have any Michael Triggs, but you're still going to have to tackle, right? And they're still going to throw the ball some. You're still going to have to be solid in your assignments and solid in your communication. So this Auburn defense has a ton of things that they need to clean up off of that week 1 performance. And this is a good opportunity to do those things. You got to be a lot better tackling. Like some of those tackling grades, those Pro Football Focus tackling grades were atrocious. Some of those coverage grades were atrocious. You got a good opportunity this week to kind of build off of those things, learn from your mistakes, and start to set good habits, start to get the defense playing the way that we all anticipated it was going to play, and get that thing scaling up, get the trajectory of this defense moving up, get that confidence moving up. Again, going back to Hugh Freeze's comments where he said, we got that 4th down stop and this defense took a sigh of relief instead of being excited. That does not need to be the case. I want to say pissed off, fired up Auburn defense this weekend. If Purdue didn't allow a touchdown to Ball State, and you're this Auburn defense, your goal should be to not allow a touchdown for Ball State. I think I'll give my score prediction at the end of the episode. I think Ball State's going to score a touchdown because, if you're a Division I football team and you go 8 quarters without scoring a touchdown, like, my God. But if you're Auburn, the goal should be 0. Don't let these boys cross the 50, get into the red zone, much less score a touchdown, man. I want to see this Auburn defense flying around, playing mean, playing aggressive. The communication, I want to see it be a lot better. And the tackling, man. We got to wrap up. Hope that what we saw week 1 was just week 1. Let's be fast. Let's be physical, solid in the fundamentals. Make sure you wrap your guy up. Make sure that if you're a safety, if you're a nickel corner, you guys are communicating. No more blown coverages, man. 3rd and 16s, defense has got to get off the field. 4th and 9 should never be a touchdown for the offense. It should be off the field, especially at home. If we give up a 3rd and 17 in this game at home, I'm going to lose my damn mind. That stuff, that's got to go. That's got to go, man. So communication, wrap up on defense. We've got a lot you got to clean up from week 1. You've had a ton of stuff to look at on film from week 1 and say, okay, this has got to be better. Listen to some of those guys on the defense side of the ball talk. They're pretty disappointed in some of their play. So I think you're going to see a much different attitude this Saturday night from this Auburn defense. One more thing that I want to see before I give my prediction. This is kind of a team-wide thing, but I'm really looking at special teams on this. Is these penalties, man. These penalties. You lined up illegal formation twice on a punt, and you had your long snapper run into the punt returner. You got kick-catch interference from your long snapper. Now, running with Reed is cool and everything, but Reed, you ran too far. All right? Pump the brakes. I think it was 9 penalties for Auburn last week. Week 1, okay? But you cannot do that moving forward, and we talk about habits a lot in this episode. This is one of those kind of games where it's an opportunity to develop good habits, to build on a solid foundation that you laid week 1. But the penalties have got to be cleaned up. I want to see that number cut in half. If Auburn gets up big, if Auburn's up 40, 50 points, and then, your backups, your second and third strings come in, and they commit some penalties because it's they're true freshmen and it's their first time, being in game action and all that, that's fine. But early on in the game, when our starters are out there, clean and efficient. Those are my 2 words for this episode. I want to see clean, efficient football, man. Let's cut down on the penalties, especially the stupid ones. I mean, I mentioned the 3 you had on special teams, and then you had back-to-back false starts from your tackle Xavier Chaplin commits a false start, then Mason Murphy commits a false start right after that, and it puts you in 1st and 20 right out the gate. Now, you're actually able to overcome that on that drive, but it's hard to do that. It's not what you want to do. So a lot of those penalties that are just self-inflicted, that are stupid penalties that can be avoided, I want to see all those things cleaned up, and I'm really looking at that special teams unit to do that, man. And the last thing in any kind of game like this, obviously, this goes for every game, but you want to stay healthy and you want to get the young guys reps. So the easiest way to do that is get up big early. Get up big early. Don't play around. Even a game like Samford last year, I thought like that was a game where Auburn had the starters in for too long. Like Auburn just has some games these last couple of years where they should be 50 or 60 point blowouts. Maybe I'm thinking of the year before the Samford game, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There's been these games before where Auburn should be up by 50 or 60 and they're up by like 14, 17, and it's just not enough to pull the starters, and you end up playing guys a lot. Like you win the game and there's nothing to really freak out about, but like you miss an opportunity to get young guys reps. So I don't want to see any of that this weekend. I want to see Auburn come out in front of a sold out, hyped up Jordan Hare Stadium Saturday night, put their foot on Ball State's throat early, man. 21-28-0 at the end of that first quarter, and really start to work in some of these young guys, these highly recruited guys. You only have so many opportunities to get these guys reps. You've got South next week, and then it's SEC play all the way until Mercer before the Iron Bowl. So you've only got so many opportunities. And also, some of these young guys might have to be called on due to injury later in the year. So for all of those reasons, you need to get the young guys reps. And then obviously, in a situation where you already have a Damari Alston banged up, you don't want to run Jeremiah Cobb too much this week. Hey, again, 10 carries for Jeremiah. Hopefully it's 10 carries for 115 yards. Hopefully he busts 2 or 3 long runs of 25, 30 yards, and you can get him out the game. Okay, we've seen what we need to see. We don't need him. Let's let Darrell Robinson get himself established, right? Those kind of things. On the defensive side, when Hugh Freeze talked about the young defensive lineman and Darian Smith last week and how he graded out well and played well in only his 8 or 9 snaps, he said he deserves more snaps. Well, here's the opportunity to build off of that. A guy like Crawford down there on that defensive line, the linebackers, Diaz and Melendez and all those guys, Anquan Fagans. Now with the injury to Champ Anthony, you're going to have to figure out this new safety spot. It's just a good opportunity to get young guys reps and to get rest for your starters. So let's come out here if you're Auburn, blow these boys out the way that you should. It's no disrespect to Ball State, but they're probably going to be one of the worst teams in D1 football. Probably going to have one of the worst offenses in D1 football. This is not a game where anywhere past midway through the second quarter, the result should be in doubt. Auburn should come in. They should dominate this game. We should get to see all these freshmen play. I haven't even brought up the quarterback situation on this episode because it was on yesterday's episode. If you want to hear my extended thoughts on it, you can go watch yesterday's episode. But I want to see Deuce Knight be the second guy off the bench, and I want to see that after halftime. Again, Jackson, 18 for 22, 250 plus, 2 or 3 TDs with no turnovers, and he comes out when he doesn't even have his helmet with him and his shoulder pads after halftime, and you hand it over to Deuce, and you let Ashton Daniels and Deuce get it figured out and all that kind of stuff. But I want this to be the Deuce Knight debut in the second half, and even though Auburn's up by hopefully 45-0 at that point, Deuce runs onto the field and kind of brings the juice back into that stadium, and everybody has a reason to hang around and look at the future quarterback of the program, the 5-star that this program has invested so heavily in. It's a big opportunity for all those kind of things. I want to see all these young guys that we do the recruiting videos for and the film breakdown. Again, you only get so many opportunities to see them in action. This should be one of those games. So hopefully we get to see that, man. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. To everyone who is new to the show and has just been tuning in, thank you guys so much, man. The subs have been off the charts this month, and it's just been great to see. We're putting in the work here at the Up Tempo Podcast. Thank you, guys. Follow me on X at DMcShaw28. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. And for our members, we will have the members-only Saturday morning live show coming up for you guys Saturday morning at 9 a.m. For everybody else, live show reaction with my guy Nick from Water Cooler Talk Podcast, 9 a.m. Sunday morning, hopefully reacting to a big Auburn victory. My prediction, 55-10 Auburn. Like I said, with Ball State, they didn't score versus Purdue, and I don't know if they're going to score in the first half versus Auburn. I'm anticipating a pissed off Auburn defense, okay? But maybe late in the game when Auburn has the third strings and the walk-ons in the fourth quarter, Ball State might finally find the touchdown. More of just a law of averages thing there because they didn't even score the last game. So eventually the Cardinals will find the end zone, but I got the Tigers 55-10. Good guys up big, and I got it playing out the way that I said on this episode. I hope it plays out. I hope everybody getting reps. Deuce makes his debut. All the young guys get in there and make some plays happen. I think that'll happen. Just want to see a big day from Jackson through the air. I want to see Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Eric Singleton make some big plays. I think all you guys do too. That's gonna do it for this episode, man. Be back here Sunday morning, 9 a.m. live reaction show. I'll see you guys then. War Damn Eagle. I'm out.